Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. My name is Breifne and you are listening to the sports preview show here on the podcast. It has been a fantastic week of sports action up and down the county, as well as an exciting weekend ahead for the Gaelic football, hurling and ladies football sides representing the county. In terms of successes this week, we were celebrating on the double on Wednesday with two schools bringing home national and provincial titles respectively to County Leitrim. First up was Drumshanbo Vocational School, and their boys cadet team brought home a National A Cup title when they defeated Elphin over in NUI Galway on Wednesday afternoon. We'll be talking to Shane Hegarty, their manager, John King, a long-time stalwart of the sport of volleyball in the school, as well as Radic, Danny and Ronan of the actual team itself. We'll also be talking to Anthony McDonald, coach and manager of the St. Clares Comprehensive Junior Boys team, who took home the Connacht title on Wednesday afternoon in Athlone Town Stadium in Athlone. It's a great weekend of sporting action ahead. We have National Football League action that resumes with Division 3 for the first time in 12 seasons. Terry Hyland's Chargers will face into a daunting task to Derry, although he does correct me on the use of the word daunting. We'll hear more from Terry later in the programme. While the Hurlers are also in action, they play off against Fermanagh in Enniskillen at 2 p.m. on Sunday, while the ladies are not to be left behind. Their National League campaign, also with a trip to Derry, starts at 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. We spoke to Hugh Donnelly on the programme last week, so we won't be going back to him again this week, but we will be talking to Terry about the footballers' chances tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. in Celtic Park in Derry. Dean Clancy also in action. He was in the Irish singlet this week. On Monday, he was beaten in his last 16 bout at the Stranja tournament in Sofia, Bulgaria. So a disappointing week for Dean, but the fact that he was in the Irish jersey at senior level for the first time deserves to be commended. In the meanwhile, Sligo Rovers getting their campaign, pre-season campaign at least, up and running. 2 games in the last week. They drew with Galway 2-2 over the weekend and had a last-minute winner from Kyle Callum McFadden to thank for a 2-1 victory against Drogheda United on Thursday evening in Drogheda. More on that later in the programme. Now, let's look through some of the other fixtures and results of the weekend. Before we get into the interviews, in rugby, we have a full card for the local sides. Sligo Rugby back in action in the All-Ireland League after a couple of weeks off from league action, and they host Malahide in Hamilton Park in Strandhill, 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. That's Saturday afternoon. They are in action. A must-win game for them if they want to reignite their playoff hopes or even their league title hopes, which aren't completely dead at this point. A good run of games will put them right back in the frame. In the Connacht Junior Leagues in 1A, Sligo host Westport on Sunday afternoon. That game kicks off at 2:30 also, while in Tuam, Carrick and Shannon Rugby Club make that long trip to Tuam for a 2:30 p.m. kickoff in Division 1C of the league. Now, in soccer, we also have some local games of interest. Manor Rangers at home to Glenview Stars, still kind of on a high from their victory over Renmore in last week's Connacht Cup. They will be hoping to continue their title push with a victory over Glenview Stars. They had a fairly heavy victory over them earlier in the year, double figures, in fact, in soccer, which doesn't quite happen. I think it was 10-1 the last time those sides met. This time at home, Manor will be looking for a big score to put themselves back in the shot of winning the league title, and they really have blown that title race wide open with their victory over Carbery 2 weeks ago. So Cartron, Carbery and themselves all gunning for the top spot in that division. Only once have those teams played against each other, so plenty to play for in the Sligo Leitrim Super League. While at Premier League level in Division 2, effectively, Carrick Town continue their season and they will host a Raf Kotaro inspired Real Tubber. Be interesting to see whether the League of Ireland veteran will feature this week for Real Tubber. He has played in a few games of late, but he's back in the colours of Finn Harps earlier this week. So we'll be interested to see whether Carrick will host Raf Kotaro or not. He will be on the line for the Real Tubber side either way. It's been an interesting week in terms of our awards. As you know, we do have an awards scheme where each week we identify athletes or teams that have done phenomenal things and stand out as the team of the week, essentially, to go forward for our monthly Athlete of the Month poll. Now, the poll takes place from the 3rd to the 5th of February online via our website. All the details will be sent out via our newsletter, so if you're not on our newsletter yet, please do sign up. Just go to our website and click on newsletter, enter your email address, and you will get our weekly email that goes out to let you know exactly what's going on with Leitrim Daily and a little recap of our shows, and you can listen to it there. It's just a gentle nudge and a reminder to let you know that we are still floating around, and we'd love to have you as listeners on the show. However, we have been talking about the Athlete of the Year, Sports Person of the Month, should I say. It will be an annual event, but at the moment it's of the month. We've had nominations the whole way through January, but we will be adding to that as we continue. This week's nominees, Dean Clancy on the international stage after his selection for Ireland in boxing, and unfortunately, as we mentioned, beaten in the last 16 of the Strandja tournament. But the fact that he's on the plane in an Irish singlet is a huge achievement. Congratulations to Dean. It's been a whirlwind couple of months for him, winning the seniors, then the elites, and now in an Irish singlet. So the very best luck to him as his season progresses. It may put paid to his Olympic dreams for this year. We'll catch up with him when he's home and have a conversation with him about all of that and what the implications of this defeat are for him. I know Kurt Walker did progress through that round, so it might not be great news for Dean on that front, albeit he is nominated for Leitrim International Sportsperson of the Month for this month. In terms of the national category, with their national title secured this week, we're putting in the Drumshanbo Vocational School's Boys Cadets Volleyball team. Congratulations to them on their success. We're going to hear more from Radek, Danny and Ronan, as well as their mentors Shane Hegarty and John King later in the programme. And finally, in the local section, St. Clares Comprehensive School, their junior boys football team, for their Connacht B Cup final victory during the week, are nominated on the local level. Congratulations to all our nominees. As I mentioned, they will be featured in our online poll, and then the following week, on the Friday, which will be the 7th, I believe, of February, we will be going through each and every nominee, their merits, and talking about who will actually win that award. You'll be able to hear those deliberations live on the show in the start of February. They round off our nominations for this week. Thank you very much to all the people who have submitted those details and submitted those nominations, and we look forward to hearing who you might be. It's a busy week this weekend, so we expect a good few people to really set the ball rolling and set the world alight this week on the sports pitches around the country and further afield as well as on the local level. We want to hear from everybody. So if your little darling scores a hat-trick for his football team or wins an award for whatever it might be on their sporting prowess, let us know. Go to leitrimdaily.com and just click on the awards section and you'll find the nomination form there. We want to have all the recognition that these people deserve for their fantastic achievements around the county. Anyway, let's get on with the show, and we're going to start with the footballers and their trip to Derry tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to speak to Terry Hyland about Leitrim's chances this year in Division 3 of the National Football League. Now, it's very rare for Leitrim teams to win titles at national or provincial level, but that is exactly what happened twice yesterday. First up is St. Clares Comprehensive, and I'm speaking to Anthony McDonald, who is the manager of the under-17 boys soccer team who captured the Connacht B Championship yesterday. Anthony, congratulations.
Thanks very much. It's not every day you get to play in Connacht titles, let alone win them. So look, it was a great day for the school.
You say that, but this isn't your first rodeo at that level in terms of a Connacht final. But let's talk about the game. A great start from your side, 2-0 up at half time, and you look to be totally in control of the game.
Yeah, look, I suppose going into a final, I said to the boys that it's very, very important to stamp your mark on the game early on and make sure go out and set the tempo, and that's exactly what they've done. I suppose after around 15 minutes of the game, we went 2-0 up. The first goal from O'Connell was set up by Jim McGiblin, a lovely play down the right wing, and the second goal was a fine individual goal by Ian Clancy. We really, we did set the pace early in the game. We probably created a couple of other good chances. We didn't take them, and in general, in the first half, we dominated the proceedings. Obviously, then at half time came, it's kind of when you're winning the game, it's the last thing you want to happen because you have no momentum going forward. So it's always hard to kind of get them and regroup. And to be fair, Balla came out in the second half and really put it up to us. They pressed us hard, they worked us hard, got a goal a fortuitous enough goal, albeit, and they got a second goal from a free kick just from the edge of the box. Once they got that second goal, I suppose our own boys, they really lifted their game again. And we created a couple of good chances into the second half. We just couldn't convert them.
Now, there were a couple of incidents maybe for VAR to have a look at. It didn't go your way, though. 2 goals ruled out during the game for various reasons.
Yeah, the first goal was, ruled out for offside. With a free kick around 30-35 metres out. Enniskillen played it in over the top. Our lads followed the ball in after it looked like after it was struck, squared it, and one of the lads finished the net, but the linesman called it offside, so you have to trust the linesman in that situation. When the second goal came, I suppose with 2 minutes to go before the penalty shootout, corner came in, the keeper dropped the ball, and it was struck to the net. Now, I myself, when I was standing, couldn't see any issue with no one jumped with the keeper or seemed to impede the keeper, but a free was given out for whatever reason. But look, these things happen in football. Unfortunately, at Connacht level, you don't have VAR, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though the Athlone Town facilities are pretty good down there, not quite at that level just yet. Now, your team, obviously, you mentioned a couple of names there, but you've got a fair few National League players in your ranks, as well as some of the local talent that we've seen playing for Fermanagh Rangers. Yeah,
we have. I suppose our captain, Peter Maguire, playing with the under-17s Sligo Rovers team for the last 2 seasons, and last year he got under-17 Player of the Year. And he was an under-16 at the time. So that's a fair achievement, an individual achievement, I suppose, for himself. We also have our 2 centre midfielders on the day. We had Enniskillen, who was with the Sligo Rovers under-15 development squad last year, and he has now been brought into the under-17s, so he again has an under-16. And we have Conway O'Connell, who was just recently signed for Longford Town under-17s as well. So we've good strength in the team in those areas. And then we have a lot of good lads from our own club who are still playing with Manorhamilton Rangers, and they're not far off that level. You have Patrick Montgomery there, who was with the Sligo Rovers under-15 development squad last year too. So we have a lot of lads that will be, pushing to, I suppose, aim towards them high standards.
Well, listen, Anthony, let's finish off the game yesterday, because obviously for the second time in a week that we're talking to you, it's a 2-2 draw. It's level after 5 penalties each. It went into sudden death again. You seem to like the dramatic down in Manorhamilton.
I'm not sure if I say I'd like the dramatics, because I tell you one thing, I was probably the most nervous man standing watching the lads hit the penalties, because to be honest, it's for young people especially, it's a hard way to finish a game. Obviously, if you're on the winning side of it, it's great. But if you happen to be that one person that does miss the final penalty, it's a tough one to stomach. And to be fair, as I said to the lads, I go, look, when you get to that stage in the game, you try and keep a wee bit of composure in that. But penalties, on the day, any player can miss. And as I said to them, you see professionals miss, week in, week out in the Premiership. I go, these things happen. One bit of advice I gave to them was, when you're standing up to hit that ball, pick a spot, believe in yourself, go for it, don't change your mind, and just, if it goes in, brilliant. If it doesn't, keep the head up, then you rely on your keeper, you rely on the next man to score. But to be fair to our boys, the 5 lads that stood up to hit the penalties, all 5 converted them well. Look, it's great for the lads.
Listen, Anthony, congratulations. A massive achievement to win the Connacht Cup, I suppose it is in soccer, to give it its proper title.
Yeah.
Huge achievement for the school, for yourself, for the team. And I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on those lads as they progress through the National League underage seasons later in the year. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
Now, this weekend sees the return of National League action in football and hurling, and I'm joined by the football manager, Terry Hyland, to talk about his game against Derry on Saturday. Terry, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Terry, it's a daunting enough task. Last year's opponents in the Division 4 final, we all know how that game went. We're now in Division 3. We're up with the slightly larger teams in terms of Derry and Cork. First 2 games up. How are things in the camp ahead of the weekend?
Well, things are good. The spirits are good. Okay, we're still short a few players due to injuries, but that's the way of the world. And every squad in Ireland is the same. No, we're looking forward to the campaign. Daunting probably is a very strong word to use. I wouldn't use that. I think that it's about how competitive you can be and how you look at it and what your outlook on it is. People look at different challenges in life as being daunting in one sense, and other people just take them in their stride, and it depends which way you take it. And I think that we're in quite a good place at the moment.
The whole county was lifted by the exploits on the pitch last year, and I suppose, how's the squad comparing to that of last year? Have we many new faces in?
Well, there's a few new fellas in there, and we're looking at some of the under-20s, and there's some exciting young fellas coming through. And I have to say that if again, I mean, they have to step up at senior level, and it is a big difference from playing under-20, and it is a big difference in playing in Division 3 to Division 4. Lads, the pace of the game is faster. Thought sense, you have to think faster, you have to do things quicker, and that's just where the challenging is for Leitrim. It's not that there are any different or any worse footballers in Leitrim than anywhere else. It's about the speed and the intensity you play the game at.
In terms of, let's talk about the FBD competition earlier in the year. How significant is that in the grand scheme of things, or is it just another game over and done with?
Well, it's another game over and done with. When you can read into it any way you want. People last year read into it about a good game against Mayo, and that set us up for the year. And probably other people read in and said, "What a bad game of the year! Oh, that sets them up for a fall." That's not the way I look at it. Every game is taken on its own merits. It's taken on its separately to everything else. And every day you play a game has no necessary bearing on the game that you're going to play on the next day. And it will maybe with personnel and maybe that type of scenario. But it is what it is. We're not running away from the fact that we weren't happy with what happened on the day and that we weren't happy with the result. But hell, it's over, and we have to just prepare for the next one.
Now, there's a train of thought out there that it actually was a bit of a masterstroke to be beaten so badly in that game with so many first teamers away, with Sigerson with injuries, a suspension or two, and the lads away on a personal weekend. Is it about setting the bar low so that expectations aren't massive and that you're going to come in with the other teams and even our own supporters maybe not quite expecting the heroics of last year, but it gives you that opportunity to build again as we build through the league campaign?
Look, it's all about taking things in balance. It's neither. Look, if things go well, people might say that the last. So if things go bad, that's the way they were. Everybody they'll form their opinion anywhere, every way they want to. In the end of the day, you know what I mean. It's going back to your point, and you use the word expectation. I always like people to have expectations, because in the end of the day, if you get up in the morning, you have no expectation for that particular day. Well, and it's a wasted day in your life, and it's no different in sport. You have to have expectation, and you have to want, and you have to, thrive to get that little bit of an edge and to get up that little bit further. And that's what we will be doing these nights.
I suppose people looking at the 8 teams in the division before the fixtures came out, everyone kind of would have predicted Derry and Cork to be the top 2 teams in the side. Unfortunately, we have them in the first 2 games. But the other 5 teams that are with us in that division, which of those are you targeting to really get the points that are needed, maybe the 5 or 6 points that are needed to stay up in Division 3 this year?
Well, to be honest, we will target every game. We will target Derry on Saturday. And if we don't get something on Saturday, we will go home disappointed, because we will target every team in every game the same. Because you have to. Because otherwise, then you're narrowing your window. You're saying, well, okay, we haven't got a hope in them too, so really we don't start it. So instead of being the number of games we have, we're taking it away too from them again. And we don't want to do it that way, and we don't want to look at it that way, and we certainly don't want to portray it that way, because we feel that we can go out on Saturday and compete with Derry and get a result out of it. And that's the way we're going to go to the game, and we will be disappointed if we don't get something out of it. So, the other teams that's in are probably looking at the same, and okay, they look at the big 2, and I suppose they've been traditionally the big 2, but then there's a reason they are where they are. That is because they didn't win their games on the higher divisions and they slipped down. So, it probably is a little bit of a mental thing for them in one sense, is that, we are supposed to be the big guys. How do we get ourselves up to play the minnows in the country? And, it's psychological things work both ways, but we certainly would not be writing off the first 2 games.
In terms of the overall season, of course, this year sees the introduction of Tier 2 in the All-Ireland Football Championship. Are you excited about that?
Well, most people would know me. I don't get very excited about anything. I take things on a level, especially in sport. Look, somebody else said that to me with Tier 2, and I said Tier 1 or whatever it is. In the end of the day, you're in a championship. And I suppose the way I look at it is, on the first round of the championship, everybody's in Tier 1. It's only when you're knocked out of that championship, you go to Tier 2. So Tier 2, back door. Okay, what is the difference in it? Possibly you don't beat Division 1 or 2 team in the back door, and you're into a more competitive back door. That's basically what it is, because no team bar Division 1 or 2 team has come through the back door to get to an Ireland final anyway. So it's back to being a competitive competition for the teams that have bowed out of the Tier 1 championship. And that's the way I would look at it. So if you're good enough, you progress in the initial championship. And if you're not, you revert just back into this particular competition and see how that runs and how it's ran. I suppose it's a bigger thing than how it runs, because it'll run good enough. It's how it's promoted, how they... people in Croke Park, and we've heard people from other counties walking away, with Tier 2, I have no interest in that, because there is a glamour and there is a big occasion in playing the big teams, even if it's a team that you are probably not going to beat, but that big day occasion is a big thing for inter-county footballers.
Yeah, in terms of the mood in the camp about it, has it come up in conversation with team meetings or even just anecdotally?
No, it's never been mentioned. I'll be honest with you. And, to be honest with you, I would always take one competition at a time. It's a long journey win until next May, and a lot of things can happen before championship starts. It is a competition. It's no different than bringing a rule change. Now, a lot of people talking about the mark now. It shouldn't be the forward mark, shouldn't be brought in. But hell, they're late talking about it now. Why didn't they talk about it 5 months ago when they were talking about it before it came in? Anybody who would be involved in the coaching side and the playing side would know the mark, what the result was. But the biggest problem was the rules around the mark kept changing. You didn't know this and you didn't know that, and really they never settled on a full rule on it until about 3 weeks ago. So, for example, if a forward catches a ball and doesn't take the mark and he turns and the back tackles him, it's automatically a free and 13-yard penalty. We didn't know that when the mark was being brought in. I'd say nobody knew that. This thing was only being introduced later. So it's a bit like the budget. It's not the budget you have to worry about. It's the add-ons 2 months later.
Yeah, it's funny because there was a lot of confusion in the press box at the Roscommon game in the FBD League when defenders were catching the ball and they were claiming a mark and getting a free kick from a defensive point of view.
And I've seen that in the McKenna Cup as well. And don't get me wrong, I am not the best man in the world to be up on the rules, but I'm not too sure that's actually written as a rule.
Okay, so there's still a lot of grey area around these new rules that have come in January.
Yeah, and even the referee. And it's going, look, don't get me wrong, it's going to be impossible to police it. It's going to be impossible for a referee. Like you take, for example, team comes forward with the ball, takes the ball in across the 45, plays it back out again. The referee has followed play in maybe to the 21 because that's where it's got. Someone turns and punts it back out again, and then it's kicked back in again and someone makes a mark. The referee is still in possibly close to where the initial tackling zone or landing zone was, and he hasn't a clue then where the ball is kicked from, because where we have lines on a field, unless you're right beside them or looking down on them, you don't know where anybody is standing.
No, absolutely. What can supporters expect on Saturday, Terry? Will it be more the same from last year, or have you got new plans in your locker?
Well, we would hope, and again, as all ever I would ask of anybody. People talk about plans and people talk about tactics and the people talk about it. We can get an intensity to our game and a pace to our game that'll match the teams in the higher divisions. That is the first plan. That is where we need to start at. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I've been a long time involved in football, and I've always marvelled about tactics and tactics and tactics. Tactics are fine and they do work, but there has to be much practice. So will we change that much from last year? Probably not. Will we try and get the intensity levels and the paces up? Yes.
Excellent. Well, listen, the very best luck to you. It's 5 p.m. throw-in in Celtic Park in Derry against Derry in the first round of the Division 3 National League. The very best luck to you and your team on Saturday, Terry.
Thanks very much.
Now, as I mentioned at the top of the Anthony McDonald interview, this is a fantastic day for Leitrim this week on Wednesday, when we won not just one title, but two, in the shape of Drumshanbo Vocational School's Cadet A boys team, who won the All-Ireland final in NUI Galway on Wednesday, as I mentioned. I'm joined by a couple of members of the team and a few of the staff associated with the team. Shane Hegarty, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having us, Breifne.
No problem at all. Thanks for inviting me out. Shane, tell us a bit about the game on Wednesday? I suppose the semi-final was played in very quick succession beforehand.
2 days beforehand, yeah, so it was a very short turnaround for the lads, and it's tough for them to get a bit of rest in, but they managed it, thankfully. The day of the All-Ireland, it was a long warm-up, so they had to kind of keep the focus, which is the biggest challenge for them. I suppose they came in as favourites, really, and it was about maintaining that focus for them. They did it very well. First set was very close. It was kind of point for point, and Elfin pushed us all the way, in fairness. But then in the second half, I think our quality came through, and maybe our experience from the junior All-Ireland as well, so they kind of maybe edged us over the line.
Now, it was cadet competition, which is under 16.
Yes.
So tell us about kind of the makeup of some of the boys that would have been on that team. Where are they in their educational cycle?
So a lot of the lads would be fifth year, so they'll be doing their leaving cert next year. They're just after doing the junior cert. We had 4 members of the team that were doing the junior cert this year as well. So they had a lot on their plate to kind of concentrate on, so they did very well in that regard.
Let's meet a couple of the lads. Let's have a chat with Ronan Moore. Ronan, I understand you were the MVP of the final.
Yeah, there was lots of contenders, to be fair, but I was just lucky to get it.
Very modest. Talk to us about the game and what was going through your head at different stages, because the first set in particular was very tight.
Yeah, we just tried focusing on getting the ball up and into the set or 2.5. But yeah, no, Elfin kept with us now in the first set, to be fair, but the second set we just kind of ran away with it at the start.
And once you kind of got that momentum in the second set, it only ever looked like there was going to be one winner.
Yeah. Once we went a few points up in the second set, you could kind of see it that it was going to come through.
Now, volleyball wouldn't be a traditional sport in this part of the world outside of Drumshanbo School, which has been doing it as long as I can remember. I always remember seeing volleyball in the Leitrim Observer as a kid growing up. What other sports do you play?
We play Gaelic, soccer, handball, a bit of rugby as well.
And where would volleyball, in your opinion, fall within that in terms of your priorities? Would it be Gaelic football or would it be volleyball at the top of the food chain?
Oh, it'll be Gaelic at the top, yeah.
And then when school, volleyball kicks in.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick chat with the captain of the team, Radek. How nice was it to lift that trophy on Wednesday?
That was good. Like, we were training really hard for a few weeks, and it was just good to reach the final.
Just a few weeks?
Well, a good bit now, a few months.
You've had it a couple of years, I'd imagine, through the ranks. Again, talk about that first set on Wednesday, because it was tit for tat the whole way through, and at one stage you needed a bit of a push to get back into it.
Yeah, it was hard. Like, they kept at it. They kept pushing the ball back at us, but look, we just stayed in the game and just won it.
How important is volleyball to the life in the school here?
It's been the main sport in the school. Like, we wouldn't get too far in the football, but we're always getting a good way in the volleyball.
And Danny McQueenie, one of the members of the team as well. Danny, we usually meet each other on the sidelines of rugby games, but this is slightly different.
Yeah.
In terms of your involvement on Wednesday, what was it like being involved in an All-Ireland winning title?
Oh, yeah, no, I only came on in the second set, but it was nerve-wracking enough even coming on now to watch it. Yeah, that was good though.
Talk to me about the day, because you would have left here very early to get to Galway. NUIG was the venue, but you're playing Elfin. It almost seems like a huge journey to Galway for both teams to play each other when there's only 10 or 15 miles between
Yeah,
you.
we're gone at 10 o'clock, and as Mr. Haggerty said, the warm-up went on for a good 45 minutes, so we're just waiting on things to happen, and then, I don't know, the game got going then.
Does the environment and the surroundings make a difference to when you're playing, say, here in the Mayflower?
Yeah, there was a big crowd over there. We brought a load from our school, so yeah, there was noise made over there anyways.
Bit of noise and a bit of atmosphere and excitement. Yeah. How nice is it to be involved at that level? Because we've all been involved in sports where you show up and it's the two teams and maybe a referee and maybe a couple of the parents come along. So when you go to a big event like that, does it take any adjusting?
Yeah, like an All-Ireland is an All-Ireland at the end of the day. Like, it's something to have, and you're going to always remember it, like, once you get older.
Now, we couldn't really talk about volleyball in Drumshanbo without having a word from Mr. John King, who's synonymous with the sport over the years. And John, talk to us about volleyball in Drumshanbo, because you're retired now. You're no longer a member of the staff.
That's right, yeah.
But you've been here as long as you can remember, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I came to Drumshanbo in 74, and people find it hard to believe it, but to people around that time. Drumshanbo was a volleyball crazy place in 1974. It was brought in by Pádraig Noon in 69-70, and it just took off. And at lunchtime, teachers, they were all young and they were playing with pupils, and there was leagues within the school, and that went on, for the first 20, 25 years, regular leagues for juniors and seniors. So I came into a very vibrant situation, and it was maybe a year before I touched a volleyball myself.
So you missed the first year, but you've got the other 40 odd or so. In terms of the sport, because it's not traditionally a strong sport outside of maybe the urban centres in the country, Dublin, Cork, why has it taken a foothold in Drumshanbo? Why has it stayed in Drumshanbo when there's no real club or there's no real kind of funnel outside of the school for people to get involved?
Well, I'd say it's passed on. These would have trained with the seniors, and even after the seniors was over, the seniors came in to help them. And I think it's just the continuity has never been broken, so it's passed on all the time. It's sort of like a relay, and it's passed on at the high standard. So, I think that's the secret, that there has been no break in it. That it's been kept up there the whole time. I
suppose the bit of success always helps as well. And over the years, you've had some really, really good successes at all levels in the sport, in the town.
Yeah, we've had great success, but I would always rate every training session is if they're out there laughing and enjoying themselves. I think that is the most important thing, because many years we never won anything, but there was often just loads of enjoyment down there in the hall. So that's the most important thing in sport, really.
Let's go back to Shane for a second, Mr. Hegarty, or as the boys might know you, in terms of the sport and I suppose the future of the sport within the school. What else is available in terms of obviously these elite lads that are playing at a national level? And we've spoke to Garth Gilmartin on the team before, who was captain of under-19s at a national level this year. So in terms of what's available within that sport here, there is that opportunity for international athletes. Can we see any of these lads maybe in a green jersey in a few years to come?
I definitely think so. Yeah, there's great potential for them once they keep up the work rate. We showed they've 2 All-Irelands already. We'll be going for another one next year with the seniors, so we're hoping to get a hat-trick with them, and hopefully they'll catch a few talents' eyes. I definitely think there's the potential there for them.
No pressure, lads. You just put you down for an All-Ireland already. You're the team to be taken down, because it must be remembered that sometimes we hear about successes and they're at B level or C level or even D level at county or school level. This is an A final. This is the best club, or best school, should I say, in the entire country. It doesn't happen that often in Leitrim.
No, I think so. I think that's one of the good things with Drumshanbo, is that we give them a chance to compete at All-Ireland levels. I think it's one of the great draws to the school as well. It's not a B championship, not to belittle a B or C championship, but it's nice to have the A beside it, I suppose, and know that you're the best of the best at that level for that year at least anyway.
Lads, in terms of the realisation, I know you're very young and you haven't quite maybe got the idea that this doesn't happen to everybody every year. Do you realise how big of an achievement that actually is, Ronan?
Yeah, it's starting to sink in now, but we'll hopefully go for another one next year anyway. And next Thursday as well, we're away.
So what's happening next Thursday?
We're playing the Northern Ireland champions.
Oh, it's kind of like a best of the best of champions kind of event. Excellent. Well, listen, the very best of luck in that. Thanks very much for having me out. It's been lovely to meet you and to catch up with you, and congratulations on your fantastic achievement.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Just very briefly, I'd like to thank Drumshanbo School for all the support they give, for Mr. Fallon for getting teachers to cover our classes so we can go away on these trips, for additional coaches the likes of Mr. McKeown, who also came in, Miss McBarn, who took the team for a day as well, Miss Shanley, who washes the jerseys every week when I drop them in late to her, and Mr. Shan, who also has been training the lads as well. And basically all the support we get in the school, we couldn't do it without them, so I think it's very supportive of them to allow us to do it.
Excellent. I can hear a bell there going, lads, you better go back to class. Thanks very much for having a chat with me.
Okay. Thank you.
And that, folks, is all we have time for on the show today. Thank you to everyone for chatting to me, to Terry, to Anthony, to the lads in Drumshanbo, Shane, John, and the 3 boys, Radek, Danny and Ronan. It was an absolute pleasure to chat to so many national and provincial champions this week. Long may it continue for County Leitrim athletes. To our nominees this week, the two teams I mentioned, Drumshanbo and St. Clares in Manorhamilton, and also to Dean Clancy for his fantastic efforts in the boxing ring in Sofia in Bulgaria in that Irish singlet at senior level for the first time. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing this week's show to you. The very best of luck to all three National League sides who kick off their campaigns this weekend. Just a reminder, the men's football are in action in Celtic Park in Derry tomorrow afternoon, Saturday at 5 p.m, while both of the hurlers and the ladies footballers start their campaigns at 2 p.m. on Sunday. The girls are in Owenbeg in Derry and they play the hosts there, while the boys hurlers are in Enniskillen for Brewster Park against Fermanagh at the start of their Division 3B campaign. The girls in particular and the hurlers will be looking to put together really good league campaigns to build on the really good work that's gone on behind the scenes over the last couple of years. We will be back on Monday with a roundup of all the sporting action. Talk to you then.